Hi, my name is Cheryl Vercammen. I am the Mayor of Marine City, and this is the Mayor Minute. Today, I will be interviewing Holly Tatman, which is the Marine City City Manager. Hello, Holly.
Hello there.
Hello. We have a lot to cover, so we're going to get right into it. Tell me, I always start my interviews this way. So tell us about yourself, your work experience, your education, that kind of stuff.
Well, born and raised in St. Clair, but after I went away to college for a degree in political science, I ended up getting a job in Lansing where I was interning in the state legislature. Loved it. Ultimately ended up getting hired into the legislature after I graduated from college and spent many years out there after that, working in the Senate and the House. Eventually got into some political consulting, fundraising, corporate, dabbled with some of the government affairs with nonprofit. It's been my wheelhouse for quite some time. Decided to start a family, wanted to get out of the madness, I guess you could say, of term limits at the state level. Wanted a little bit more stability to create a family, so my husband and I decided that we'd move back home, back to St. Clair County. And the timing worked out that there was a municipal government job opening in Lexington, which was up in Sanilac County, but definitely doable on the drive. So I started my municipal experience in Lexington, and I was there for just over 3 years. Very different experience than state legislative and government work, but very enjoyable. And there are some similarities. I mean, the concept of helping people, the concept of being a public servant, being a good steward of people's money, all of those type of overarching umbrella issues is the same. So I enjoyed it very much, and I liked the grassroots principle of it because I felt like I could see the help we were actually offering to people. And we were so much more accessible than when you're at the state level and you're buried in bureaucracy.
Right.
So I knew that I was going to enjoy the municipal experience, although it is difficult. Because, again, you have that closeness. You are accessible for good or for bad. And so that's where that really all began. But after being up there for about 3 years, Marine City's position opened up, and I was excited.
Pardon me.
You're okay.
All of a sudden.
I was excited to have something a little bit closer to home, and I applied for the position, hoping I would get it. It is, I was born and raised really kind of a St. Clair girl, but it's our backyard, it's our neighboring community. I've spent a ton of time there, very familiar with the community, so I was very excited about the opportunity, and I was chosen. So.
And you live locally?
I do. I live in the township. I live in China Township, right between, St. Clair and Marine City, and my daughter attends the East China School District, and we, like I said, my family and friends are here. It's home, and so we're excited to have. I was excited to work in a community in my hometown area.
Right.
So, and now we're a little over a year deep into it. So.
Wow, it's been a year already.
Yeah, I feel like we've come full circle. We were here about this time last year.
Yeah, that's exactly
that
right.
That was the hello and welcome one.
The hello, welcome. Right,
yeah.
right. So, what kind of changes have you made to enhance communication within our city departments?
Oh my goodness. One of the most important things for me when I come into a new job is tearing down silos. I understand everybody has their job duties within a silo, but communication should not be kept in a silo. So one of the very first things was to break down those walls and make sure that we were all talking, collaborating constantly. In all honesty, I have daily meetings with our DPW supervisor. I have weekly meetings with our police chief. I have monthly meetings as a department head with the fire chief, the police chief, and the DPW supervisor. And I have an open door policy where if you need me, you pick up the phone and call me, or you walk into my office. I am 100% accessible to everybody, and it needs to be that way for staff. And there's always a chain of command that they need, staff need to go to, but if they need to circumvent that and come to me for a reason, I'm always available. So I think it's been a really nice change for the office. I think everybody feels like they can collaborate a little bit more because some of those walls are down.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really changed the dynamic, I think, over the last year.
Yeah. So I did my homework, and sorry, I have something like all of a sudden in my throat. Anyway, so I did my homework, and I did speak to all the department managers, and I spoke to all of the office staff.
Oh, goodness.
And I know,
Yeah.
I know. And everyone pretty much said the same thing, that they feel that you have an open line of communication, that you trust our department managers with, their tasks at hand, that you don't micromanage. Everyone is working so well together as a team. And I can honestly say that, for as much as I spend, the much time as I spend in the city offices, I see, the city staff, your office staff, everybody's, working together and collaborating, and you guys are getting stuff done, and happy employees are productive employees. I say that all the time. Mm-hmm. And you can tell when you walk in. There's no, sometimes when you walk into an environment and you know that there's, I don't know, toxicity or whatever, a negativity, you don't get that in Marine City anymore. No. Everybody talks. And I know that even some business owners have said, that they're driving by and they think of something, I need to talk to the city manager. And they buzz in and you see them. Mm-hmm. You don't ever put them off. You don't ever say that you're busy.
No.
Unless you truly are in a meeting or something
right.
like that. But for the most part, 99% of the time, come on in.
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
and that
it should be
so important.
Absolutely should be that way.
Yes, it
and
should
I'm
be that way.
happy to hear that the staff feel that way, because it is a nice environment to work in, and I feel the same way about them. I enjoy working with all of the staff, and we do get our work done, and we're able to laugh and joke and have a good time while we're there for those, the long days, and accomplish things. And because we work so well together, we help each other. We collaborate on all sorts of things. If somebody doesn't have a strength in something, they ask for help, and we give it. I mean, that's what we do. We are a work family.
Right. And as a small, running a city is a small business, right? And as a small business owner, you can't have set tasks. Everybody has to intertwine and like you said, work together. There is no such thing as that's not my job.
Right.
That just doesn't
can't
work.
fly.
It doesn't work in a small business. You all have to get along.
Yep.
I
laughed the other day. Somebody came in to pay a water bill, and some of the gals were off at lunch, and another one was on the phone, so I came out and I took a water bill. I don't know that I did it completely right, but I got it halfway there. And so at least when, Anne Marie was done, she was able to take over. But I mean, that's what we do. We help each other. And and it's a nice place to be.
Yeah.
So.
And you didn't make our citizen wait or anything like that. No,
exactly.
Right. Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. You get the job done. Yep. Let's talk about finances a little bit. Is Marine City financially viable?
Yes, it is.
Is there anything that our citizens need to be concerned about?
Honestly, no. We have healthy fund balances. We have honest and strong budgets that are proposed every year, reliable budgets. And I say honest budgets because that's what they are. We work hard to make sure that they're balanced. We're being responsible with the money. And as everything is put in to the budget for our assumptions for the next year, or to true up the numbers of what we spent or received in the current year, all of that goes through the commission for approval and questions and the public to weigh in. So it's all very transparent to anybody who's interested. But yes, the city's doing well. Yeah. They really are. They've been responsible and have had responsible budgets for the last few years.
Good.
In order to do that, yeah.
So I was watching some of the candidate interviews, and one of the candidates had said that there was only one budget meeting instead of 3. And it was said in such a way that it led people to believe that, or maybe they believed, that like there was something wrong with that.
Right. No.
What is the answer to that? I mean,
right.
I was there.
Right.
There was, we got through it quickly.
Yeah. It could be, when you go into a budget workshop, so I guess I should start, there's multiple drafts in the budget that are created as you're going through the budget season. because the numbers are constantly moving. So when we get to our target point where we say, okay, this is the draft budget, this is where we find our current year numbers are correct and as accurate as we can get, knowing that there's still 2 more months, to the end of the fiscal year. And we are in a healthy place and we're in the, we're not in the red for our forecasting for the next year. This is what we're going to draft up and present to the commission in a work group. This gives them the ability to sit down and ask any questions on any line items. Why are we spending this? Why are we not spending this? What is this? Whatever the question may be. And it's time for the public to come in during that time as well and look at it and see it. It's also posted online for the work group, so if you're in the public, you can't make it to the meeting, you have a question, you can pull it up. I get budgets that can be difficult. They're not everybody's forte. So we try to make it as smooth a process as you can. Typically, a budget meeting, the commission would go through their draft and highlight anything that they would have questions on. On my end, if there's any major changes, I would note that, and those would be discussed during the budget meeting. It's not necessarily normal to go line by line by everything, because a lot of the line items are the same from year to year. Correct. You forecast your future budget based on how your current budget is, unless you know of some really random thing that's going to happen, which is why that particular thing would be noteworthy. And you go through those things. So to have 3 days to sit and talk about, a 35-page document that 27 of the pages may have the same numbers on it from last year, doesn't necessarily make sense. But we leave that opportunity available if need be. We got through the budget workshop from page 1 to page 35 or whatever it was in that day. And so there was really no need to have any more days to talk about it. But it's always on the table to do. It's just, do you need to hammer out the same numbers over and over? But it's a very transparent process. It's very available to everybody. We just understand it's a confusing one. So any questions we can answer ahead of time, we're happy to do so.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. I just wanted to, clarify that. We all love and promote the small town feel of Marine City. Truly, I mean, that's why I moved back here over 20 years ago. But we do have some vacant buildings or land still, even though many are filled. Many are filled. I think I said it at the last commission meeting that, I can't remember how long ago, 10 years ago, we had 14 vacant storefronts just on Water Street alone. Not anymore. We still have a few though. So I just wanted to kind of go down the list here and let's talk about what we've got potentially going in, the phone calls that we've made, because I know you've made phone calls, I've made phone calls, and I'm going to give the public an example. So Kmart, the old Kmart building, right? You mentioned Big Lots. You called Big Lots?
A few times.
I called Big Lots a few times because it really would be, when you said Big Lots, I was like, oh my God, that is really a great location, for a Big Lots. And they have different things, furniture and things like that no other store in Marine City, has like
from
that.
Dog food to wrapping paper. I mean, they have it all.
Yeah. So, again, we are, I want everyone to know that we are trying. We are making the phone calls.
We think outside of the box regularly. Some of the other ones that I came up with, especially when the Andes Market went out, we've been reaching out to any and all grocery stores that we can think of that aren't of the corporate enterprise, like a Meijer, which is going to need far more square feet than we could give them. But we have reached out to all of the smaller ones from Kroger size down, basically, including Aldi. Aldi's very specific. They require a certain population before they'll even look at it. So there's requirements we just can't meet, but until we know that, it's worth investigating.
It's worth a try, right?
So we have called all sorts of stuff. We've done, different franchises that we've reached out to. I've reached out to different outdoors type of recreation type of places. If you've ever been, say, to Linwood, Michigan, there's a place up there, and I'm going to blank on the name of it now, Northwoods. And it's just like whatever and everything type of outdoor store. I mean, I've reached out to that. It's just whatever I think might fit. Fishing, outdoors, groceries, jack of all trades. We're trying. We are thinking outside the box regularly to try to fill those storefronts.
Right, right. I know that I personally have reached out. There's a store in New Baltimore, not a store. It's I guess a little restaurant called Beyond. And it's a fresh juicery. I mean, and I'm talking fresh juice. Like you've got big bins of spinach and kale and, and I get a juice from there and I love it. And then they also have very good, wholesome foods and more natural foods. And they are a franchise, but I did reach out to Beyond Corporate and I said, Marine City is perfect.
Yes.
And the thing that I love about where we are located, like for Aldi, because I also called Aldi, and is because we're sitting between, there's like 3 towns in a row, right? We've got Algonac, us in the middle, and then St. Clair. So when you try to promote your town, it's not just promoting Marine City. We say, well, we would get all the St. Clair residents to come south, and we would get all the Algonac residents to come north,
You pull from your surrounding area.
Yes, yeah.
Even the people in the township who don't want to travel, all the way out 26 miles to the Mire at 94, or St. Clair's driving to Marysville. Yes, you're going to pull from your exteriors. You're going to pull from the township, as well as in the summer months. The 29 is a thoroughfare for people traveling the river.
Yeah.
And so I always encourage that and promote that when I put that in any of my little pitches that I send to anybody to try to find our niche and bring people here.
Yeah.
And it is eventually going to be successful. I mean,
sure,
statistically,
it
right, if we reach out to so many, even if we get one, it's a success.
Somebody's going to bite, right?
Yes.
I know when McDonald's left, I know someone that owns a couple of A&Ws. I called him immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately. And I said, we could use an A&W in Marine City.
We have no fast food other than Dairy Queen.
Right.
So...
Right.
And I mean, good for Dairy Queen. They're doing amazing because of it. I'm sure.
Absolutely.
But I know that there would be a place for another one.
Correct. Yeah.
So.
Correct. So I just wanted everybody to know that too. That we do, we do promote and try to fill up our vacant storefronts. So what other kind of developments do we have going on? Isn't there something?
Oh,
I don't know if you can talk about the. Well, you tell me what developments are going on.
Yeah, there is. So we have the new. It's condo housing that's at the north end of town. It's going a little slow, but it is happening.
Is that the one off Metropolis?
Yes.
Okay.
And so that'll be, new residential housing, which we know we're hurting for. We have a huge expansion of the storage facility units that's on King Road. They've expanded to the other side of the road. It's a massive expansion, which is awesome. There has been development on the potential of a semi-repair shop coming into the strip along King Road as well. We have the potential of more housing coming in at the south end with a potential apartment complex development. I feel like it's kind of popping up all over, and I think that that's wonderful, especially if we're seeing a mix of both the commercial, industrial, and residential.
Yeah.
One supports the other, so I think that's exciting. And then you're seeing just a revamp of some of the existing buildings that are there, or some old ones that are now going up for sale. For instance, the old Owen Studio that's downtown on Water Street has a for sale sign in front of it now. It's a prime property.
I hear it's pending.
Fantastic.
I hear it's
I knew
pending.
It wouldn't last
Word
long.
on the street.
But see, those are all exciting new developments, and as potential buyers, investors, or people looking to live here keep seeing those things happen, they're encouraged by what they see in the town. They know it's a thriving town, means they want to come to this town.
Right.
If you don't see anything and it's a sleepy old town and there's no businesses coming in and people don't want to move there, you start to wonder why. So this is very promising for the community.
Yeah. And again, to reiterate, we don't want a metropolis.
No.
We want to keep
Absolutely
the
not.
small town.
Yes.
I hear things about, the people can't come downtown to shop because the people can't park. I'm downtown every day.
So am I.
And
yes.
of course, there's certain blocks, like right in the center of town, like by the MC Marketplace and the Fish Company and, Anita's and that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's difficult. It's a hit or miss there,
But
Sweet
for a
Tooth
good
and
reason.
stuff.
It's
but
because
for a good
they're
reason,
thriving. Yes.
But you come a little bit 1 block south.
Yep.
There's 2 blocks of empty parking.
Yep. That's exactly what I did the last time I came to town. My husband and I and my daughter, we parked 1 block off. We ended up parking next to the tot lot, stopped and let my daughter play for a half hour, and then went about our business downtown. I mean, utilize the assets that are there. There's a lot of them, and they're not necessarily just on Water Street.
Right.
So it is a good thing. It's a good thing for everyone when there's development and progress in the town. It's a trickle-down effect from top to bottom. Your homes are worth more when your town is great and things are going well. Your city services, the cost is lower to you as a resident when things are thriving and businesses are full.
I think that is a massively huge point. You drive people away, and your city services are going to go up.
Or
that
eliminate
is money.
it.
Or eliminated.
Yes.
That's how you keep your taxes and your water bills.
Yes.
To
a reasonable cost.
Reasonable and managed. You start going, no, we don't want, and no one wants to live here, and then watch all your city services go up.
Right. And a prime example is you look at the Kmart complex. So those were big storefronts, and a McDonald's. What does McDonald's use a lot of as a restaurant? Water. When we lost one of our biggest water users, a McDonald's restaurant that's opened, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Right.
You lost a lot of water that was provided. You lost a big payer. You continue to do that. Somebody still has to pay the bills. Somebody to produce the water that's being used. And same with garbage. Your garbage rate is based on how many homes that they're going to. So if they have to come to Marine City and the cost of gas and everything else we keep ticking down in how many homes that they are going to, well, to make it worthwhile to come into Marine City, the cost goes up.
Right.
You start eliminating services. There's people who don't have recycling anymore because they don't want to pay for it in their community. You want your flowers watered. You want DPW to have flowers to water. All of these things start to get hacked away at when there's no money to pay for them. So the beautification of what you see and the services that you utilize every day when you turn on your faucet, you flush your toilet, you open your blinds and you see clean streets, manicured streets, sidewalks that are feasible to walk on, trees that are cut back so you can walk underneath them, that all costs money and somebody has to pay for it. So the more people that are there to pay for it and split the cost, keep it down for the individual.
Right.
But like I said at the last meeting too, we're not talking about bulldozing residential blocks and putting up anything. We have a well-zoned city. People build and bring in the businesses that are properly accommodate the zoning that's there. That's what it's there for. That's your protection to make sure that your city is operating the way you want it to operate, which is a transparent process, which goes through the public, which goes through your committees. And that's how you protect what is where. And as long as that's in place, which it is, and it's strong, then you're not going to end up with this wildly developed town in some metropolis that you don't want. You maintain the small town that you have.
Right. And a case in point is 23 and Gratiot. 23 and Gratiot, there was no planning there.
Right.
There are so many driveways there. And finally, they started doing a little bit of back cut-through roads. There are so many accidents there. Actually, 23 and Gratiot was one of the worst, I think, in the top 10 in the country for accidents until they started really. But it took all those accidents to make a change there. Because what ended up happening is that development came in so quickly without any good pre-planning that stores were just opening up and strip malls were just opening up willy-nilly.
Yep.
We don't want to be that way.
No, you pre-plan.
We pre-plan for a reason.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I know it seems scary to people at times when the conversation comes up that you are pre-planning for these. It's like you're saying, I'm forecasting for this to come in tomorrow. But that's not the case. Development takes years and lots of money.
Right.
But you still want to be prepared that in the event something were to come in, and let's say, a farmer passes away on the outskirts of town and their kids don't want that property anymore. You may love that it's an agriculture and a farm, but it's not your choice, it's not your property. That family sells out and sells that parcel of land. The sky is the limit as to what can be there if you haven't protected the zoning.
Right.
That's what it comes down to. And so that's what there's been a lot of talk about. But really, it is a transparent process, and I encourage people who are interested in it, attend your planning commission meetings. That's where this stuff is talked about. It's where it's hashed out, and it's where you make those decisions for pre-planning that are so important.
Yeah. Just before we started this segment, I was talking to somebody, and we were talking about the second magnet plant that's happening here in St. Clair. That was a 20-year process. It doesn't happen overnight.
No.
20 years. When I worked for Beaumont Corporate a long time ago, I'm talking in the 80s, they had plans for 2020. They were forecasting 40 years away.
I believe it. I believe it.
You have to have that kind of stuff. You have to think about that kind of stuff.
Yep. I just came from a SEMCOG meeting. I think it was a SEMCOG meeting, and that's one of the things we were talking about. Is there was forecasts out to, it was either 2040 or 2050. That's what people do.
How old will I be? Will I even be here? But no, it's true. But you have to forecast out.
And that's what people do. Like there are companies that do that. That's what big corporations do. That's what cities should do. If these people are doing it, we're foolish if we don't, because we need to protect ourselves for the long term on what it is that your constituents want in their town.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And again, we want to keep our small town feel. We love that.
We do love that.
We love it. Everybody loves it.
Yes.
As far as I know. Everybody that I talk to.
We do.
We love it.
But there are certainly concessions that need to be made as far as encouraging housing. We do want other people to come here and live. Again, costs stay down as the economy, things go up and become more expensive and transition whatever, from gas to electric and different things like that. There's going to be costs to everything. And so we always need to remember that there has to be some forward progress to keep up with the times. So we do still want to encourage, new builds. We do still want to encourage people to have jobs locally. We have a lot of people who live in St. Clair County who commute to Oakland, Macomb, Wayne County for their jobs. Would it be nice to have people who could stay closer to home and keep their money in the county? Absolutely. But to do that, there has to be some deviations. There has to be some willingness to zone in a way that, yes, construction can happen, but in a planned way.
In a planned way. Right.
Yes.
Yeah, not willy-nilly like 23 Gresham.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
We talked about that. So you and John Kreidler, who's a city commissioner, he's our city commission liaison for SEMCOG.
Yes.
So SEMCOG is Southeast Michigan. What's the COG? Am I going to get you on this one?
Yeah.
Southeastern Michigan.
Conglomerate of governments or something like that, I think. Yes. Yeah.
And so what is SEMCOG and how does it help Marine City?
So SEMCOG is an amazing organization, very well recognized at the state level. Although it focuses on our southeast, ours focuses on the southeast conglomerate specifically. They are very well connected with similar groups like them around the state, around the nation, and very tied in at the state level and federal level with the government. So they do a lot of forecasting, they do a lot of surveying. They want to know why people want what they want. Why are we doing what we want? They put the pictures, the puzzle pieces together behind the scenes to give us our forecasting of, folks, your constituents do want X, Y, and Z. You need to start thinking about these in your ordinances, or we need to start planning for this for the future. They're constantly on top of infrastructure updates and different things that need to be done, but they understand, say, municipal's funding constraints. They try to work behind the scenes to find alternatives for us. They defend us at the, they essentially, I don't believe they specifically lobby, but they work the same type of angles on behalf of municipalities to help with some of that, to ensure that we are being represented properly. But the information that they provide and the support that they provide, also through grant finding opportunities. There isn't always grants directly through SEMCOG, but they put you in connection with others that have it. They're a conduit for a wealth of knowledge and information and support. They were the ones I just learned some different key things about at a conference, SEMCOG conference I went to a couple weeks ago, about what's coming down the pipe more with water and sewer infrastructure. And stormwater and different things. They're kind of ahead of the 8 ball a little bit with their connections. So before you start reading about it in the newspaper, we may be talking about it behind closed doors about how we can prepare. So they're a wonderful organization, and the networking is incredible. Absolutely incredible.
I'm glad we're part of it.
Yes, I am too.
Yeah.
It's an honor to be a part of it. I was sitting with other gals from Macomb County, the college community. There was the lobbyists from the state and federal level were at this conference. Congresswoman Dingell was at this conference. I mean, we were getting feedback from all over, and it's a wonderful organization, and it supports us well, I think.
Yeah, good, good. So tell me about Marine City on the county level as far as our representation. What county-wide meetings do you attend and why? So
I am honored to have been asked to sit as Marine City's position. They asked Marine City to come on as a director on the board of directors, and for the EDA,
which stands for
the Economic Development Alliance of St. Clair County.
Right, because Marine City was not represented. And the EDA is extremely important.
The EDA is incredibly important to connections in this county.
And the previous, and I don't want to say anything bad about the previous city manager, but she didn't attend very many meetings because I wanted to start attending meetings.
Right.
Because it is that important.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. And so I kind of waved my hand about that as soon as I came on last year about how do I get involved. And as soon as the opportunity to fill some vacant seats, because they had eliminated some and decided to reinstate some because there was such an overwhelming amount of support of more people that wanted to be involved, they did choose me, and I was very excited about that. So I am representing Marine City on that board, and talk about just again, support, networking, information coming down the pipe that's going to be relevant, because everybody at that table is dynamic in some way. They're part of municipalities, corporations, nonprofits, schools, you name it. The sky's the limit of what sits on that board. And so the brainstorming and the marketing for the things in this county and the support to bring in business and housing development in a consolidated and well planned out manner is what they do, and they're great at it. They also have the connections, again, with grant funding opportunities that are far beyond our reach independently. So that's one of the boards that I work with and sit on. And then I'm also a part of the Blue Meets Green group, which is a similar type of makeup as the EDA, just on I say lesser, but it's not lesser, just maybe a little bit less of an influential manner, but it's the same type of format and the same type of groups networking and trying to push and drive progress in the county. And they're very good at bringing together everybody. So instead of having a bunch of different silos and 12 people reaching out for a grant from one organization, these groups can kind of coordinate it and say, okay, well, if all these entities want to do this, let's coordinate one effort, put it all under one umbrella, make one ask, and chances are we're going to have a heck of a lot better chance at getting it.
Right.
They do that kind of stuff, and it's a partnership. It's phenomenal. Having come from Sanilac County as a city manager where there was very little county support for things, and it was just underfunding. They just didn't have it, and they didn't have the driving people. St. Clair is just amazing with their collaboration and their cooperation and their support. Yeah. So it's very exciting to be a part of it. The other two groups that kind of come off the top of my head is there is a 26-mile corridor stakeholder meeting that Marine City is a part of right now. That's a county collaboration right now. And then there is a Scots group that we go to, and that's specific to like road funding and infrastructure updates. So those are kind of, I'd say, the biggest ones right now that I work with on a regular basis. All very important.
Yeah, good. I'm so, when I found out that you're on the board of directors of the EDA, like every person that I talk to that knows the EDA and all the fantastic things that they can do countywide, you know, yeah, we were all tickled pink because that's a great thing.
It's a great
thing.
Opportunity.
Absolutely.
I'm honored to be a part of it.
So let's talk about the city's master plan. So, and I'm you know, going to talk about this on a very, you know, like for somebody that doesn't know anything about cities, because I'm talking to you about master plans and ordinances, you know, and that was myself, you know, before I became a commissioner. I had no idea what you had to do. You know, I didn't get involved in city government until I jumped in 5 years ago. So, and jumped in I did.
Yes, you did.
So let's talk about the master plan.
Okay.
What is a master plan, and why is it so important to the growth and development of our city or any city?
So your master plan is like your city's Bible. It's your vision, it's your goals, it's your wish list for the city to be all that it can be. And it is a very public, very transparent, collaborative effort on the part of everybody in the community. It's created that way. You can't move forward with it without doing those.
Because you have to have public meetings.
Correct. You do have to do public charrettes, public surveys, public everything to get feedback on what everybody wants. And then those pieces are all put into the language that's within the master plan. And it's specific to, you know, your parks and your overall theme of town and what you ultimately want to see. Do you want to gear towards more pedestrian friendly versus vehicles? Do you want to gear towards less energy? Do you want to be a beautification city? It's the wish list for your city. And it is important because it's your guide to what you should be working towards. Instead of just making willy-nilly decisions all the time, you should be looking back to this and saying, does what we're talking about right here with an ordinance or a policy change or a zoning change fit in with what we said and everybody agreed is the goal for the city? And if it doesn't fit in there, then you shouldn't be doing it. Right. Because they are all supposed to collaborate, and the point of that master plan is what you're working towards. And you are supposed to revisit it, update it as your town evolves. Legally, you are supposed to update it as well. And is there like a time? I believe it's 5 years it needs to be looked at, and then you can do some tweaks. But then after, and I don't remember what the benchmark is, you need to really kind of do an overhaul on it. And we're at the point where we need to do an overhaul on ours. So I've been working on an RFP to send out to... What is an RFP? My request for proposal. Request for proposal. Yes. So this is like the military. Everything's got acronyms. It does. It does. So I'm working on an RFP to send out to planners all around Michigan, and I've got a list of planners that I'm aware of, to send out for a request for proposal, to have them send back just cost and what they can do for us as far as helping us create a new master plan. There's a great deal of money, grant money available to assist communities with redoing their master plans, because they understand that having a positive and updated master plan leads to more funding and other things elsewhere. Right. So we're in the process of doing the RFP and getting that out so we can start working on it. We completed the zoning ordinances, which is not part of the master plan, but it's connected very much. That just finished within the last month, so that's updated and ready to go. Maybe I should have asked about ordinances first, because that's my next question. What are ordinances, and how do they help keep order to a city? Sure. Your ordinances are your laws. They're your rules. They are what the city staff and the commission abide by. They're what we require businesses and residents to abide by. From everything to how high you can have a fence in your yard, to you know, how wide your driveway needs to be when you pour it, or a setback for a shed in your yard. They're established by the commissioners. They are proposed, they're vetted through the planning process. Again, there's public hearings for ordinance updates. So again, it's a very public process that everybody can participate in. Share your thoughts on it, and then it is enacted by a commission. The commission, it is therefore entered into our book of ordinances, our code of ordinances, and then those are our rules. You know, we sometimes get beat up on some of the things that we have to enforce, and I like to remind people, we are only here to enforce the rules that were given to us to enforce. The staff doesn't make the rules. Information is provided to the commission, and the commission votes on it after a public process. So there should be a vested interest by everybody involved to ensure that the ordinances put in place work for everybody. You're not going to please everybody with all of them, because that's just human nature.
Right.
But you do the best for the majority, and that's what your ordinances should reflect.
Right.
So, and they're what we work from.
And then how often do ordinances get revised? Just like as needed, or do you actually look through the book and go, okay, do you put a date on them, like when
they went into effect? Yes.
Right.
And you can create ordinances that have a time limit that say you need to come back and revisit it at a certain point, because maybe it's just an ordinance that you know is going to phase out for some reason. And I can't think off the top of my head an example of something that's going to phase out, but yes, you can do that. Typically, you do what's called a recodification of your ordinances every so many years, where it's a lot of work. You go through all of them, make sure they're still relevant, make sure they're still legal, because state and federal laws trump ours. So if they enacted something at the state or federal level that negated ours, it needs to come out. So it's something that should be done every so often, but it's very time consuming. So typically, municipalities, if they don't have the manpower, will hire a company to do the recodification. We need to look at that in Marine City. I can't tell you how long it's been since there's been a recodification, which is why since I've been there, we have pulled many ordinances out that need to be revamped because they are outdated. We've evolved beyond what their capacity was. And so we need to look at doing that for Marine City.
So basically it's just a revision. A recodification is just a look back and a revision.
And fix anything that doesn't work.
And
then the other ones are, as you come across them, you may not know what you don't know
until something happens.
Until
and
something
you look
happens.
at it, you look at the ordinance and go, wow,
this doesn't work.
We really need to make some changes.
Or you come up with something new and cool for your town that makes sense and you want to implement, and then you enact a whole new one. So
but as you said, the whole process is, public input, public hearing. And so if I wanted to look at an ordinance, and I'm just asking for the public's knowledge, where do I go?
So on our website is the Code of Ordinances, and it's under a couple different tabs off the quick links at the top. The Code of Ordinance is all online, so you can do a search for keywords, and they will pop up throughout the entire Code of Ordinance for you to find what you're looking for. I can tell you, I keep it on, it's on a favorites tab of mine, and it's always up on my computers to reference. It's a quick and easy tool.
Good. Can you talk about Eagle and the water treatment plant?
I can give a quick kind of, 30,000 foot view on that.
So Eagle is EGLE.
Yes,
and that stands for?
The Environmental Great Lakes Authority. Basically, they're the environmental arm of the state government, Michigan state government.
Through the DNR. Is it a DNR?
No, they're separate.
Oh, I thought they were linked.
I mean, they're all executive branch of the state of Michigan. But Eagle is its own entity. They do a lot of the regulatory issues specific to environment. And I don't think I'm saying anything that isn't a kind of common theme among municipal management who has public water treatment plants for themselves. Not every municipality has a water plant.
We do.
We do.
We have our own.
We have our own.
We like having our own.
We manage it. We hire a third-party company to manage it, so it is managed by all of the licensed individuals and certified through all of the state requirements to do. I actually was quite pleased when I did see that we had a third party that ran it, because I know that licensing is an issue. It is hard and it is somewhat costly, but you have a lot of employees who don't want to do that anymore, so the licensing has been an issue. So I was excited to see that Marine City had used what do I want to say? We were smart enough to go ahead of the curve and get a third party to run it, rather than having to worry about the liability of keeping our employees licensed. Although we do have employees that are licensed. But the concept with municipally run water plants is the 30,000-foot view is Eagle would like, I believe, to push towards a more consolidated water system. They want everybody to kind of share. And I know a lot of people have heard
You're talking surrounding communities.
Correct. So I'm sure you've heard of the Great Lakes Water Authority on the news. Comes out of Detroit, heads north, a long way. I'm sure everybody, there's been a lot of mistrust put into the thought of a consolidated water system because of some of the things that we had heard about with the Flint water crisis and different things. There's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of good information, there's a lot of bad information. However, there is a pushback from the smaller municipalities who already currently run a successful plant themselves. There's a little fear about leaving a well-run water plant and joining a consolidated front. Part of our argument on the municipal level is cost. We control our own fate when we run our own. We keep costs down for residents and business owners as much as we can. You join a consolidated, you are at the mercy of the board that decides how much that's going to be. The other thing is we have intergovernmental agreements with our surrounding neighbors. We help each other. If somebody has a water main break or a fire or something in one of their communities, we can open up emergency outlets and intakes to our neighboring communities and provide them with water. So nobody's without. You're not going to see the boil water advisories. You're not going to see you've got nothing. We can help each other. What scares us, especially as municipal managers dealing with this, is that ability to have that backup, that emergency backup connection. And I don't want to talk poorly about the Great Lakes Water Authority, because what they do is amazing. It's not that. But for instance, about a month ago, there was a big water main break over on the west side of Oakland County. Multiple major communities. We're 4,100 people community. We're talking 10,000 and resident communities. No water, days. That scares me. And we have a good system. We don't have problems here. Minor things here and there, like anyways. But so there is pushback from the smaller municipalities about this consolidation issue, and I think that you're going to start seeing a lot more of it, because I do think that at the top of the heap there's a push for it. I wish they would spend a little bit more time in the grassroots level with us, understanding our needs and concerns a little bit more, because the other thing is the politics of it. The executive branch deals with politics way up here. But the people who push the agendas are down here. We deal with the politics of our constituents every day. I don't make decisions on behalf of the residents by myself. I bring the commission information and you guys make it. However, as collaboratively, we have our public right there for interaction to tell us what they want and what they don't want. And I can tell you a lot of people don't want the consolidated. When you're up in the bureaucracy, they don't hear it, they don't feel it, they may not even care about it, but it's in our face. And so it's a difficult issue, and it's going to be for a while, I think.
Yeah, we like having our own water but Eagle is a very powerful group.
They are.
Yeah.
And you have to do what they say.
Yeah, you have to do what they say. They have rules and regulations.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
Anyway, so let's talk about the recently implemented blight and dangerous building ordinances.
Yeah.
How's it going? And our citizens had a concern, and we listened, and I feel that we're taking action on that because,
Yes.
you know, we did have people that came up and, you know, talked about, you know, the neighbor that wasn't doing this or that, or, you know, this building was vacant and there was animals in this building, and, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we've been working very hard on blight. I did listen. I drive town regularly to see for myself. I don't just willy-nilly do things. I go out and I look at it myself too. And they were right. There was a lot of blight we needed to address, not only in the commercial or industries or industry buildings, but residential. You've got people who aren't mowing their lawns. You've got landlords who aren't taking care of the properties. And frankly, that affects everybody on the street, everybody in the neighborhood, everybody in the town. So we started enforcing the ordinances that were already on the books. They just hadn't been enforced. We were writing tickets. Clean your house up. Mow your grass. You're going to get a ticket. And we did enforce it. People paid their tickets. Not always willingly, but some did. But the homes got cleaned up. The businesses are getting cleaned up. There's always going to be your outliers. There's always going to be those couple people that give you a hard time. Send them to the attorney and we'll let them take care of them in the court of law. The city deserves better. You have ordinances to protect this. And if you don't want to be compliant with the rules of your town, then you need to rethink where you purchase the property. So that has been going very well. Our code enforcer's been on it. Our building official has been very helpful. We've been working, the three of us work together regularly. The girls in the office are maintaining everything to know where we are. That has been a very collaborative effort between the office to make sure I's are dotted and T's are crossed. And then we're moving into the phase of the vacant building. Letters, we're going around right now confirming all of the vacant buildings, actually physically going and looking at these addresses just to make sure everything's good to go before the letters go out. But we will be sending out the letters to the vacant businesses, letting them know they are vacant, reminding them that this ordinance is going into place. We did send people a reminder, I want to say at least a month ago, maybe more, that this was coming down the pipe and to be prepared. And so the first application fee and vacant building fee will be taking effect in a few months. And it is to incentivize people. If you don't want your building, sell it to somebody who does.
Yeah.
If
and who's going to take care of it?
Yes. So, or if you want to keep your building, lease it to somebody. Get somebody in there. Make it a valuable asset in the city again. But sitting there letting the building rot on a corner is not helping anybody.
Especially a very visible corner.
Yes. And we have some of those, and it's a shame. So you get investors who sometimes don't have a heart for a community. They just see dollar signs and buy real estate. Well, this is kind of a little bit of a poke the bear on those folks where it says, we care about our community and we don't want to see this. We want you to do something. Invest in your property, invest in this community. So there will certainly be some pushback, I'm sure.
Always is with anything.
But this is not out of left field. I found other communities around Michigan who did this. I tweaked their ordinances to work for Marine City, and it passed through commission and planning, and our CED board took a look at it even to just say what a cool thing to help us. And so this was successful in other communities in cleaning up their vacant buildings. So I'll be anxious to see if we can,
as we move along,
make it a success too.
And this also was a very public process.
Very. And it actually, I believe it dragged out, I mean, even longer than what by law we have to drag it out, you know, and make sure there's all the public processes. This went months longer because we were constantly tweaking it just to make sure it was right.
Just to make sure it was right. Yeah. It wasn't just
good.
Yeah, it wasn't forced down anybody's throat. That's for sure.
No.
Because you had mentioned, you know, driving around, you know, the city, which is one of the things that I really think that's great that you do. You and I actually did that one time, you know, and we sat there and we said, okay, we went tip to tail.
Yeah,
You know,
took notes.
let's look at this, let's look at that,
Yep.
and I think that's great. You know, one of the things, and I don't necessarily know if our residents know this, but you know, near me, where I live, there's a person that owns the building, but he lives 2 counties away. Never comes here anymore. Never ever comes here anymore.
Right.
And you know, Marine City cuts his lawn.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Marine City cuts his lawn.
Yeah.
And then that goes on his
Taxes.
his taxes.
Yes.
So when eventually that person sells that property, you got to pay the city back for all the you know.
Unless he's paying. Yeah, unless he's paying it in in his summer taxes, which
True.
he should be. But yeah, when people won't step up and take ownership of their property, the city will take control in that way, and we will clean it up because we know it's best for the city.
Yep.
But we will roll it onto your taxes, and
Yeah.
you'll pay for it one way or the other,
Yeah.
which is a shame. But again, yeah, there's some people who just like real estate, and
Yeah.
they don't have a heart for the city, and that's a shame.
Right. That's why you can drive in any neighborhood and you'll see, you know, somebody's grass might be a little long, but eventually the city will take care of that. You know,
Yep.
and we'll cut that grass and we'll.
Or a blight enforcer goes around, and
Yeah.
he'll hop out of his car on a sunny Wednesday and be like, hey, you're getting pretty close to the height limit on this. Can you make sure you get it mowed for us? There's even a couple people who are kind of repeat offenders who I call just to say, hey, you don't want to hear from me. Can you please do this?
Yeah.
And we try to talk to people before we throw fines at them and just say, this is the rules. Can you do this for everybody's sake? You don't want to hear from me every 6 weeks. We try to have those conversations first.
Yeah.
And it's working.
And it's working. It's working.
Yes.
So every city commission meeting you do at the very end a city manager's report.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that city manager's report is publicized, correct?
It is. It's in every packet agenda, which is then uploaded online with everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everybody can see what you do.
They can. They
Yep.
can.
Yep.
And I brought the stack of them because in case I needed some reference points on anything. But I laugh because some are huge.
Some are huge.
And I lay it out in a way where you can see the accomplished items from the previous commission meeting to the current, but also the outstanding items that are kind of hanging out there. Either they haven't been a super priority, they're just taking a long time to execute, whatever the reason may be. But I encourage people to, both commissioners and residents, if you see this and you read it and you say, all right, Holly, this has been hanging out on the outstanding for a while. Can you tell me why? I'm really interested in seeing this get done. Let me know, because there might be a reason it hasn't, or it might be it just wasn't a priority to me because I had other things, but maybe I can bump it to a priority. Pay attention to that and let me know. That's my open door policy.
That's your open door policy. Well, I mentioned this at the last meeting too, but I think this is it's just interesting. So the previous city manager, we wanted a resolution of things for the city manager. We wanted kind of like a list of things for a city manager to do.
Sure.
Okay. Just so that there was some, communication. We wanted to make sure that everybody was doing their job correctly and that kind of stuff. You have never seen this document. You have never seen this resolution.
No, I've heard about it. I've never seen it.
Yeah, the list, the city commission's, wish list, so to speak. And I just find it so comforting to know that literally everything on this list that we all the city commissioners, well, for the most part, agreed on. You've been doing these on a regular basis without even knowing the list.
That's what I've been told.
Because this is really just common sense city manager stuff, or manager stuff. So I think the public really needs to know that we have never had to come to you. We've never came to you and said, look, what are you doing on this, or what are you doing on that?
Right.
How do you spend your day?
Right.
Because your city manager's report, as long as they are, sometimes they go 2 pages.
Yes, sometimes they are 2 pages. Yes.
And honestly, and again, I'm not saying anything about what the other city managers have done in the past, but we were used to a half a page.
Right.
We were used to a half a page. So I just wanted to bring that up because I just thought it was very important to talk about.
Well, I will check that list out of curiosity.
Yeah, you'll get a copy. So I want to talk about grants because I tell you, last couple of meetings, we have had some naysayers on grants, and nothing makes me angrier than misinformation.
I know.
Misleading information too.
Yes.
So I brought some things to settle the score, so to speak, or just to talk about what our grant process is and why grants are so important. So one of the things that we just finished talking about at the last couple of meetings actually was the Safe Route to School grant.
Yes.
Okay, and Commissioner Hendricks called it a failure at the September Commission meeting, and then she said the whole grant was a bust. 2 times she said that at the October meeting.
Yes.
And that is 100% not true. That is not true.
Right.
And I read this list before, and I'm going to read it again because it is that important.
Yeah.
It is this important. So this is what the Safe Route to School grant project, the grant did for Marine City, what brought to Marine City. 2,400 square feet of sidewalks. That's a lot of sidewalk.
It is.
4 handicap sidewalk ramps at Ward and Parker. New sidewalk at Frederick and Butler to M29. 4 handicap sidewalk ramps at Brown and M29. 4 handicap sidewalk ramps at 3rd and Brown. 2 handicap sidewalk ramps at South Bell River and Brown. 2 handicap sidewalk ramps at South Main and Bridge. 2 handicap sidewalk ramps at Ward Street. We replaced all the sidewalks from the Little League field to the high school. We replaced all the sidewalks in front of the Lions Club. We put in sidewalks from Parker to the Lions Club. We put in 380 feet of sidewalks, 14 approaches, and curbs on Chartier from the city limits to King, including new storm sewers for proper drainage. We had 2 new handicap sidewalk ramps at Chartier and King. We had a push-button pedestrian light crossing at Chartier and King for the school, which is Bell River School sitting right there. New bike path from Chartier to Bell River School, and all new street crossing striping. That's a big list.
It's a very
That
big
is not
list.
a bust.
No.
That is not a failure.
No.
So let's talk about grants and why they're so important.
Right. Well, grants are going to give you an opportunity that you otherwise would not have, plain and simple. Municipalities operate on tight budgets. That's no secret. We don't have, our source of revenue is our taxes. Our water and sewer money goes back, into the system and the maintenance of that system. It's not like we're getting rich off of water and sewer. That's not how that works. We pay our bills basically through our tax base and then other small revenue sources that can pop up here and there, that we take opportunity for. So if you want to get anything done, a grant is how you're going to do it. And sometimes that can be challenging if you don't have matching funds to accommodate the grant, which is a constraint in a lot of different grants. But regardless, that money it's irreplaceable. Mm-hmm. It's, you make these master plans, and you may have these goals that come up, and things get old. Your parks age, your sidewalks age, your roads age, whatever it is, your buildings age. You need to replace these things. And unless you want to take out a loan, do a special assessment, or bond it out, where are you going to get that money from?
Where are you going to get the money?
So these grants are out there to accommodate and make available the opportunities that you otherwise wouldn't have. And for instance, the grants that we've gone after this year, a lot of what's out there right now, and I believe a lot of it was COVID driven, where they're incentivizing outdoor rec and activities. Get outside. We live in Michigan, a beautiful state. We take it in, the water, the woods, the bike paths, the trails, whatever it is, whatever your fancy is, the kayaking. And so there's a lot of money out there pushing towards get outside, fix up your outsides, your parks, your trail systems, things like that, and get people back out there, and then connect. Everybody connect.
Right.
And so that's the route that we've been taking, and it's a shame what a battle it's been. Mm-hmm. We are talking about a scenario where there's potentially zero money coming out of the city's budget to pay for hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of upgrades to the city. Worst case scenario, if Plan A doesn't work, Plan B would be utilizing, say, some of the ARPA funds that are extra money. They're not your taxpayer dollars that we've collected. They're not monies that's earmarked towards anything else that you're now going to be not receiving. They're extra dollars that were given to us from the feds to put in to boost your economy in some way. Well, I would think that if I was a betting person and somebody gave me the opportunity to spend $20 and make $1 million, I would do that. So why would we not take $40,000 of ARPA money and turn it into $400,000 worth of infrastructure upgrades to the city?
Correct.
That's the battle we've been battling, and it's a little bewildering.
Frustrating and bewildering.
Yes, it is, because it's there for the taking. That's what it is there for. It's its purpose. And if we're not in line to take it, somebody else on the road is.
Yep.
It's not like everyone's going to say, "Oh no, we don't want it." It's not how this works.
Right. Yeah.
So we have a lot of really cool opportunities because of the grant money we're going after, and it's not easy. It's a lot of work. I'm grateful every day that Michelle Goodrich is in our office because she's wonderful at it, and we couldn't do what we do without her. And she's constantly looking for new opportunities. She even shared some with the 300 Broadway committee this week on opportunities for them to start looking, because we need the collaboration between a nonprofit as a fiduciary. So there's the way that you work together on the grant opportunity too is really a team building almost exercise between other groups as you're moving forward on it.
Yeah.
Some of the ones we're working on is collaboration with Metropolitan, or excuse me, not the Metropolitan, the Economic Development Association or Alliance. It's the Blue Meets Green initiatives. It's the county initiatives. It is the Blue Water Trailways Committee and initiative. I mean, all these groups are working together on things,
Yeah.
and they think regionalized. And that helps with your grant efforts, is a regionalized approach.
Right.
Which, if we cut ourselves out of it, you're putting the community in a bubble away from everybody else, and you're going to watch everybody else flourish, and you're going to sit there in your bubble.
Yep.
Because a regional approach.
And they're not going to come back.
No.
They're not going to come back. This is the part that
unique time right
Yes.
now, and we may never see anything like this again. We
Right.
may not.
No.
And so you have to take the opportunity when it's here.
Yeah. I had two county commissioners, say after they saw the meeting, like, what is going on? Why is there even a hesitancy to grab this grant? And the timing of it all. We can't wait.
No, a lot of it hinges. Everything plays out in time. You may ask for a grant 1 year, they decide 6 months later, and by the time you get the money, it falls in, so you might be a year and a half into the original request. Sometimes you have to tee it all up in a way that it's basically a domino effect, where you need one to help pay for another, because maybe one of the grants has your matching funds built into it, which is exactly what we're dealing with on some of these, because I wanted to minimize the amount of money that we would be pulling from the city.
Right.
I didn't want to have to pull anything from the
Nope.
city. Worst case scenario, again, we pull something from the ARPA funds, but everything hinges on each other. And if you pull one of those dominoes out of the middle of the row, it doesn't work anymore. And that's what we were trying to explain. And I've run out of words to how to defend it anymore, because it just seems, it's so simple.
It's not hard.
No.
It's not hard.
I know.
And it's not a gamble. It's not, it doesn't make everybody's taxes increase.
No.
I mean, oh my gosh. If we don't take it, I tell you what, there's our two communities to the north and the south.
They'll be there with their hand out.
Oh, they're waiting.
They're ready.
They're waiting for Marine City to totally mess up on this.
Yeah.
And we cannot mess up on this. Why would we want to mess up on this?
I was once told by another city manager from St. Clair, who has been a wonderful asset since I've been in this position. But they said to me one time, "Do you know why I get so much of the money from the infrastructure committee?" because you're not at the table. You guys haven't been at the table. So I get it.
Infrastructure meaning?
So when there
roads.
was some road money, yes, when there was some road money, our surrounding communities got the money because we weren't there to do it.
Yep.
We can't let another opportunity like that happen.
Yeah. Right.
I can only do so much.
You can only do so much. And that's why it's so important for you to be visible at the meetings that you attend, and being on the board of directors now at the EDA and the SCEMCOG and every the Blue Meat Screen, all the other initiatives and all the other groups that meet. We got to be there. Marine City needs to be there and show up and
and we are now.
Yeah,
we are now.
And be a positive force. Yeah. We don't want to be. I'm tired of being the laughing stock of St. Clair County.
I understand.
So let's talk about the community workshops that were held to gain community input for the fate of 300 Broadway and 303 Water Street.
Yeah.
So we held many workshops, and this was the very first time that I've ever heard of a workshop. Yeah. I've been doing this for 5 years, and nobody ever said, "Oh, let's have a workshop before to get public input." Yeah. And I was like, "What's a workshop, and how do we do this?"
It's cool.
So it is. It was a very good process. I attended them all, and so anyway, tell us about the meetings. Do you have information on like how many meetings were held and what times?
I didn't bring that. I apologize. I know that there was 3 to 5 meetings held. I want to say there was at least 4 or 5 meetings held. We moved them around so that they were held on different days of the week and different times. So from, we might have done one at 5 o'clock, we did another one at 7 o'clock, because we wanted to make sure that if people's work schedule didn't work for one, that they could try to make it to another one.
Right.
The intent of a work group is a very informal, open process. You come in, there was intermingling conversation happening between the audience and the people sitting on the board. It wasn't like the strict no talking unless it's public comment kind of setup. And it was a very open, very fluid process of, what are your thoughts on this? Okay, why? What do you think about this? Okay, why? It was healthy debate. There was a lot of healthy conversations, meaning multiple ideas were shared, and a neutral middle ground was achieved.
Right.
That's the way it's supposed to work.
That's the way it's supposed to work.
It's, nobody hated anybody else when they walked out of the meeting, at least at that moment, or said horrible things to them. It was a healthy debate of what to do with these properties based on facts. Financial facts, economic facts, social facts, and then again, a decision of what is the overarching best interest of the city as a whole. Not one block, not one family, not one business. The entire city as a whole.
Right.
And then the group made their recommendation up to the commission, who ultimately made the decision.
Yep. So as far as the number of citizens that attended, because again, I attended every meeting, and I'm gonna say, looking around, and I have notes at home, but like 15.
We could have had more. I wish we would have had more participation. For as vocal as we have heard people are on social media about it.
Right.
I wish those people would have come and been real bodies in a room, so that we understood whether or not they were actually real people making these.
Right.
I don't want to say accusations, but assumptions.
Insinuations.
Insinuations.
Insinuations that it was at a bad time.
Right.
Well, come on.
We did multiple.
If it didn't matter, in my opinion, it doesn't matter what time. If you're going to complain that you're not being involved, then could you send an email?
Yes.
Yes, you could send an email. Could you show up to the city offices with
Anytime.
a list of questions? Yes, you could have shown up at the city offices with a list of questions.
Yep.
Could you email those questions, or snail mailed those questions, or gone on the
called.
website, or made a phone call?
Yes.
All of that.
Yes. Yes.
All of that was available.
Because I will be honest, I don't entertain Facebook as a form of communication.
It's not.
And so sharing a complaint on Facebook does not justify a decision in municipal government. come in and bring your opinions. We don't know who you are on Facebook. We don't know if you're real. We don't know if you have 5 names on Facebook and are voting 5 times.
That's exactly right.
You know, so when you're talking about something as passionate about the property of a municipal property like these, if it's that important to you, then you will come and share your opinion.
Right.
So I wish we would have had more participation, but we can't force people to come.
Right.
We can make every opportunity for them to offer the information, which is what we did.
Yeah, yeah. So we did a lot of things to try to make sure that, you know, we did get community input, because I know it was announced a lot.
A lot.
You know, I'm just curious, since the workshop, you know, has anyone put in a well, we decided to, you know, the Guy Community Center is where we hold our meetings in the back of the city offices.
Yep, at 260 South Parker.
260 South Parker. Has anyone put in a request to use the community center?
One. I've had one ask from the Little League to use it for a meeting.
Yeah.
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 That's it.
And I even check with the Washington Life Center, you know, because everyone talks about it, you know, community center, the Guy Community Center. And the truth of it is, people, maybe, you know, 40 years ago or 50 years ago, when, you know, we didn't have, you know, internet and cell phones and texting, and, you know, people did gather.
Yeah, they did.
You know, and my parents were very active people. You know, they always went to, you know, church for a meeting or whatever. You had to gather to get involved, and, you know, we don't gather anymore, unfortunately.
You pick up your phone.
You pick up your phone. I get more business done in my pajamas, you know. And so to have a community center, nobody gets together for cards and, you know, that kind of stuff. I mean, well, people still do, but usually it's at somebody's house or whatever.
Yes.
But the whole community center, nobody uses it.
No.
You know, and you can't have an asset, you know, something that costs your city money, just sit there.
Yes.
You cannot. It's not good business.
No.
You know.
No. Not when we're actively promoting the you know, revitalization of currently existing buildings. Yeah. What do we say about ourselves if we have one sitting there?
We're going to have a vacant building.
I mean, it makes no sense.
Right. So the Washington Life Center, I talked to them today, and, you know, I mean, they have that type of a couple of rooms there, and she said that, you know, they're not getting a lot of requests anymore for the community type activities. They still have their classes, and you know, you still come in for exercise, and of course they're, you know, thank goodness they still have the Meals on Wheels, and you can come in for lunch, but everything, all the enrollment is down right now. You know. And so I'm kind of pushing the Washington Life Center too, because it's near and dear to my heart, because both my parents went to it, and, you know, it was great. So you know, if you're looking to get involved in the community, we still have something in our community. We do. You know, I have a lot of neighbors that go to the Washington Life Center for exercise, and then they stay for lunch and stuff like that, which is great. All right, I just wanted to make sure, because, you know, it just seems like a hot button subject still, and I don't understand that.
I don't either.
You know,
I don't either.
I don't understand it.
And the people, even as it has sat for the years that it has been still with the city, the requests have not poured in to do anything there. You know, very, very seldom, you know, and I don't want to put Mike on the spot, but Mike's been here forever, you know, and he remembers.
Mike Etrich, the DPW director.
He goes back to remember when he was a kid and people would play cards or what have you, you know, in the basement. Yeah. And it hasn't been like that in many, many, many years. You know, they, like you said, they gather at their homes now, or if they're going to need to have a shower, they rent a hall, something way fancier than what we have to offer. You know, it's just, it's evolved, and it's evolved out of what it was once was.
Yeah. And that is the truth of it all, and all the people, and there's not that many citizens that, you know, talk about, you know, I wish we had the Guy Center, you know, but then give us some suggestions. Please. You know, get active in that then, you know, or you could have gotten active in it, because now, you know, things are changing, but you know.
But we were seeking reasonable
Right.
suggestions. I mean, some things that came in were just crazy.
I know.
And, seriously not doable.
Yeah.
I mean, when you make a suggestion, you just got to keep it in the confines of, the sky is not the limit and what we have to spend on something. And that always is what we have to bottom line look at, because we have to be frugal and responsible for taxpayer dollars.
Yeah. Another hot button subject.
Uh-oh.
Roads.
Yes.
Roads.
Yay.
All the candidates. Let's talk about roads.
Yep.
So I'm, again, I'm amazed at that. As far as I don't think that the average resident realizes how much money it costs to do a road. If you're just gonna, put a surface on it, it's a lot cheaper, obviously. But if you really got to dig down in there and you got to do infrastructure, you got to do the sewers and the drains, and it's $1 million. I mean, it is just a ridiculous amount of money.
It is.
Yeah.
And I get very frustrated at the conversations of, well, just fix our roads.
Fix our roads. It's so simple.
With all due respect, that's what they're saying at the federal level. That's what they're saying at the state level. That's what they're saying at the local level. Because nobody has money to fix roads. Because it is so expensive, and it is not something that anybody has properly funded for years and years and years and years. And again, municipalities don't have unlimited revenue sources. Our budget is tight. This is what we have to work with. So we are dependent on the state, the county, and the federal government to give us infrastructure revenue avenues to be able to do these. Otherwise, we only are able to save what we do get from them until we can afford to do a road. Well, with the cost of everything nowadays, you take a long time to save up to be able to pave a road, then a lot longer to be able to do, like you said, the infrastructure. So to mill and cap, reasonable. The city is doing this fall, as long as the weather holds out, we have 4 more roads that we are going to mill and cap. I believe that these are the last 4 roads in town that there is to mill and cap. All of the rest of the roads have to have water or sewer infrastructure done underneath them. Sewer infrastructure, I think it is, underneath them. And so then you're getting into catch basin issues, you're getting into moving things, you're getting into a whole ball of wax. And it is hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars to do these roads. And there is nobody that has them. When I go to these Scott's meetings with the county, everybody looks around the table and says, does anybody know of anything that's coming down the pipe for some road money?
Like you're talking grants.
And I'm talking either grant money, or I'm talking revenue streams that the federal or state governments are opening up and sending down to the locals. And the local meaning municipalities and the county. So at this meeting, the county is wanting to know where it is. The planning groups are wanting to know where it is. All the municipalities are there. The road commission's there. None of us have the money. Marine City is not special as far as we were left out of this. We're all left out of it. We're all trying to find it. So we do what we can with what we can. But short of the city wanting to pay for it, we can special assess. We can special assess blocks around the city. We can go get a loan, and we can go get a rural development loan and say, okay, we're going to do a 30-year fixed rate. We're going to go out for $8 million and see how many roads we can get. Realistically, you better start going over the 20 mark, 30 mark, for some of these. I don't think the citizens want us, that we go out for loans that's going to trickle down to someplace to pay.
Sure.
So if they want to pay for it, we can do it. But if you don't want to pay for it, we have to do this incrementally when we can afford it.
Yeah.
And that's not being conveyed that way. It's being conveyed that it's like the city just refuses to do it. And that's not the case.
That's not the case.
No. We, in fact, in the last 4 years, there has been 10 road projects, and we have 4 coming up this fall. The city has been doing roads as we can afford them.
Can you read that?
So in the last 4 years, North Bell River from Fairbanks to North City limits, West Boulevard, which is Bell River to M29, North Market between Broadway to Westminster, Bell Street, which is between from 3rd to Bell River. They also replaced the water main at that time on that road. West Street, or West St. Clair, sorry, between Bell River and M29, also replaced the water main during that time. Ward Street from Bell River to M29. Added 2 parking lots at that time down at Mariner Beach in the park. Resurfaced the parking lot at 300 Broadway. Union Street from Water Street to North William and replaced the water main. South Main between Union to Marine and replaced the water main. This fall, we'll be doing the milling and capping on 4th from West Boulevard to Metropolis. Metropolis from North Parker to the west end of the street. Gladys from North Bell River to the west end of the street. And Scott Street from Parker to the west end of the street. We are not ignoring roads.
We are not ignoring roads. We are not ignoring roads. Yeah.
And I mean, I would go as far as to say that this is slightly impressive in the last 4 years based on the funding that's been available.
Right.
I'd be interested to see what the other municipalities around us have done. We can't be that far off from others.
Sure.
Except for, of course, the people who were able to get the handouts that we weren't at the table for. But
yeah.
we're not ignoring roads.
If we were at the table, we'd have
more.
Yeah. We have to be at the table.
Yeah.
We have to show the county, the state that we're players.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Can you get a grant for a road? Is there such a beast out there?
Right now, no. Not specifically for no. No. Components of, but there's not even a lot of infrastructure grants right now. There's something coming down from the feds that we need to look into a little bit more regarding infrastructure, but a lot of the time when you get into monies for infrastructure, they may not actually pay to pave the road over top of it. So they can be very specific like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you adapt.
So what areas do we need to focus on in the upcoming year?
So I made notes on this. I think that some of the places that we need to focus in the upcoming year is on updating our ordinances.
Which you guys are working on.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, where is that on your list? Because I know I wrote down a couple of things.
The note about what areas do we need to focus on?
Yeah.
It's on the second page on the bottom. My questions.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. You're good. I wanted to, update ordinances and our charter. We have ridiculously old charter as well, and that's something that needs to go to the people. They have a right to see what's in there. They have a right to have a part in what's in it, and it's so old that honestly the people that were voted on it last probably may not even be around anymore. I don't know.
So
it's old.
What is it? So you have and I'm like I said, I'm talking, if you're brand new and you move into a city and you don't know anything about how a city runs, you got the master plan, you've got ordinances, and you've got a charter. What is the difference between ordinances and a charter?
So your charter is bigger than your ordinances.
All right, so it's master plan, charter, ordinances.
No, master plan's at the bottom.
Oh,
so
see?
Your
Why do they call it a
charter,
master?
That's a good question, actually. Your charter is really the biggest. That truly is the Bible, I guess you could say. Your code of ordinances is in your charter, along with other rules and regs, and then it goes down from there. Then you basically run the day-to-day using your code of ordinances, and then your master plan is the planning for the future kind of thing. But that all needs updating, the charter and the ordinances. I would like to spend some more time looking for infrastructure money somewhere. And it is going to take time to dig things out, collaborate, and see what we can do. But another one is we have a lot of grant requests out this year, so we need to be seeing them through. And if they do come through, we need to start executing the steps to put into place what we've gone after the money for. And we do have a lot out there. We're going to have a lot of moving parts if all this comes to fruition. So I think those are going to be some of the biggest things is seeing it through. And so that is going to be probably where my focus is for a while on those things. So we want to make sure that we do it right.
good.
Yeah.
So it was said in the city commission meeting, or actually, I'm sorry, let me take that back. It was said at a city commissioner candidate interview that there is no communication between the city manager and the mayor. So
That's funny.
yeah, I thought it was funny too. And nobody has ever asked me this question. Nobody has ever asked me, so how often do you meet with the city manager, or how often are you at the city offices? This is 100% blind, and it's misleading, and it is not true at all.
No.
And the public has a right to know that is not a true statement. So again, no one has ever asked me how often we meet. How often do we meet? A lot.
Yeah, a lot. And
A lot.
as we get closer to commission meetings, there's even more just prepping
Yeah.
to make sure that everybody
Yeah.
has everything to run a meeting smoothly. But we bounce ideas off each other, sometimes daily, sometimes just weekly, but we talk a lot. That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
You are helping to manage and be a part of the commission as the mayor of the city, and I manage the day-to-day of what's happening in the city. If we don't talk, there's a problem. I mean, there needs to be a collaborated front in what's happening, and you want to show that collaborated front to the residents. If you don't have that, the residents should be worried.
Yeah.
So you have to have a good partnership.
Right.
And open lines of communication.
And open lines of communication. Right. Right.
Yes.
And that's why I think it's so imperative that, we were talking about the meeting dates,
Yeah.
Moving the meeting dates to Monday, because you and I talk on the weekends, and I think to myself, we should be talking, the meeting, if it was on Monday, man, we could be talking all during the week. We could
Yes.
get all that stuff done, and we run right into a weekend, and that just doesn't make any sense for me.
No, I try to not make any of this stuff about me, personally. I try not to, because I know what I stepped into in my role.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, I am human, and I have a family, and I have a life.
Right.
And I'm entitled to have a work-life balance like anybody else in the world. And so to meet on Thursdays, it is difficult. It is difficult for people who want to go out of town, but the city was put into, we do the 410s, which everybody loves. And I tell you what, it accommodates a lot of people that work really well, because they can get into us by 6 o'clock at night.
By 6 o'clock, right.
They may not be able to get to us by 4 o'clock like the other, the 9 to 5s or the 8 to 4s do. I came from an 8 to 4 office, and there was a lot of people that could not get to us. They'd have to take a day off or go and work late. So a lot of people like the 410s for access. But I wake up and I do work on Friday mornings. I've put in 40 plus hours, and if I had 2 meetings that week, I'm put in 50 plus hours sometimes.
Yeah.
And so it's not fair to my family that I'm working on a Friday morning as the result of tasks given to me at a commission meeting the night before. Not to mention, if I don't do the work, it waits till Monday. And so there's things that probably shouldn't wait till Monday. If a resident wants to know something, I feel badly making them wait 3 days for it. There's a reason why a lot of communities, and if you look locally, meet at the beginning of the week.
Right.
It's better to accommodate everyone.
Right.
It's the work week.
Yeah. It's the work
Not
week.
the weekend.
Yeah. Right. No, 100% agree.
Yeah.
100% agree. So, we have a very important election coming up.
We do.
On November 8th. Yes, we've got 3 open city commissioner seats, and the mayor position is open. And I just want to publicly say that the only reason why I didn't put in for the mayor again is because I plan on moving.
Right.
And that's it. I love what I do. I really do, and I really feel that the mayor position needs to be a 4-year term. Because I feel like I'm just getting going. I'm just meeting people on the county level and the state level, and we got projects that we're working on and that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
anyway, I'll still be involved. I'm still going to stay active.
Good.
But one of the things that so we've got a lot of candidate interviews that are happening, on all levels, federal, state, and everything, and even locally. So one of the things that again, this is for transparency, and the public needs to know exactly what happens in our community. So we tried to do a couple of meet the candidates.
Yeah.
The Chamber of Commerce tried to do a meet the candidates, invited all the candidates. So all 5 people that were either trying to get reelected or elected for city commissioner, and then also the mayor position. And they decided not to do that because of lack of participation.
Correct.
You know, and it was extremely neutral. It was going to be at the Washington Life Center. A local person that you know, emcees some of the football games was going to ask the questions. They were going to bring, you know, questions in from a pool of multiple questions. Anyway, it just didn't go. So I gave up. You know, I have studio time that I do, and I gave up my studio time to do a Meet the Candidates because I thought it was so important. And I said, you know, I really don't care how many people participate, those that really want to be in front of the public, you know, and I told everybody, this isn't about me, this is about you.
Right.
You know, you get
You're
in front
not
of
on
the
the
camera.
ballot.
I'm not on the ballot. This is about you.
Right.
You know. So I sent an email out to every single candidate, and we asked 5 questions, and they were just generic questions. I, you know, had a couple people suggest them. I wasn't even involved in the question part of it all, and we decided to do it because we have cameras at the Guy Center.
Yes.
Right behind the city offices. And Jason, who works for CTV, asked the questions.
Yep.
I'm not involved.
Yep.
You know, and it was right after a meeting just got let out, so other people witnessed the process, even though nobody was there.
Oh, good.
You know, but there were people that witnessed, you know, the candidates coming in and sitting by themselves, you know, answering the questions, and you know, the other candidates were outside. Nobody heard anything. And 2 candidates came, you know, just 2. So we had Andrew Pakladinez and Jacob Bryson came. John Kreidler was going to come. He got called away. He was in Boston for business. And anyway, so I just thought it was very important to let everybody know that we really tried, you know, and every time that we have an election, we should do that again. We should really try to get our candidates in front of the camera, you know.
It's one of the only ways, I think, at a municipal level. You know, you're not funded at the municipal level like you are when you run for a state office. You know, you get those flyers in the mail that love them, hate them, you read them or you chuck them, you know, whatever kind of person you are. But they have an avenue to campaign. When you're at the municipal level, you're forking all that out of your own pocket, and so a lot of people don't. So other than maybe a yard sign, you may not know something about these individuals.
Right.
And, you know, depending on who you ask in the town, whether or not they know anything, especially if they're newer. But this is a platform to be able to get to know them honestly, because they're going to stand in front of this podium and they're going to say out of their own mouths what the answer is to these questions. Right. And knowing you're going to have to hold them to that. It's not, you know, it's an honest forum to get a chance to meet somebody. It was a great opportunity for people. It's a shame that they all didn't take advantage.
The candidates had no idea what I was going to, this was not me. What Jason asked, had no idea. It was just 5 simple questions. Right. You know. Right. But I think the public needs to know this too, is that, you know, so there was another a couple other individuals. One was Rita Roehrig and one was Mike Hilfrink. They were asked to get interviewed somewhere in the Port Huron area, and no one else got asked. Right. And that is so biased to me. Yeah. You know, don't accuse me of bias. Don't accuse me of not being transparent. I invited everybody. Yes. I invited everybody. You know, gave up my studio time for this process. And, you know, so why weren't the other candidates asked? That's what I don't understand.
I can't answer that.
I can't answer that either, you know. And so, you know, and I just want to end this a little bit with talking about, you know, it just seems like the city and the city commission is always being accused of hiding issues. Lack of transparency, you know, not getting citizen input, lack of communication, you know. And it's like the oldest trick in the book is to, you know, to make things seem suspicious, you know. And we don't have anybody knocking on our doors for lawsuits. We don't have any litigation happening.
No.
Nothing.
No.
There's nothing.
If anybody, and I understand that the general public doesn't understand the day-to-day inner workings of municipal government. Why would you? You're not there to learn it. But I can tell you, when you have somebody screaming during public comment or reiterating that there's no transparency and you're hiding something, you couldn't be further from the truth. With municipal government, there is nothing other than an attorney-client privilege document that is not FOIA-able.
Right.
Again, I can't say enough. I manage the day-to-day operations. I make decisions to a point on what happens during the day-to-day operations. Anything of any significance, financially or policy-driven, goes through the commission, which is a public meeting. Documents are provided publicly for all of that decision-making. Everything about anything is FOIA-able. There is nothing we do or can do that is not transparent.
Right.
We are public servants. We're not bad people. We're mothers, brothers, sisters, aunts who want to work in a public service position close to home. We're not frauds. We don't have, self-serving motivation. We don't have dreams of grandeur. We wouldn't work in a town of 4,000 people as a municipal public servant if we did. Those are the people who go elsewhere. We aren't hiding anything. We're good, honest people who have to sometimes tell people things that they don't want to hear, and then it makes a negative narrative. Not because what we've done is wrong, not because what we've done is illegal, not because what we've done is not transparent, but because somebody doesn't like an answer.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Right.
So to me, the lack of transparency conversation is nothing more than a disgruntled person who doesn't have the facts to back up the reason that they're there in the first place.
Right. Right.
There is no issue with transparency in municipal government.
Right. Yeah.
At least not in ours.
Yeah.
I can't speak for other municipalities, but in ours, we are on the up and up. Our audits is transparent. There's a public presentation on everything that's going on with your money. The ordinances are online. If we can't point to it and say you've done this wrong, we can't enforce you to do something.
Right.
It's public.
It's public.
It is.
Yeah. And and instead of complaining, what have you done? Yeah. Show me what you have done. Show me what you have helped the city with. Give me that information. Because that's what I'd like to know. What angers me the most is because I see what you do, and I'm telling you right now, and I'm just telling you because it was literally said in an interview that unfortunately a couple of people think that you're not doing your job, but nothing has ever been said to back that up. Because I've got proof in the pudding that you are doing your job. You're doing an exemplary job.
Thank you.
And it just makes me so mad because that public perception is out there. Because you've got a couple of people that say it and say it and say it and say it. And it's not true. No. It is not true.
It's not that I'm not doing my job. I'm doing my job. I am a very busy person. I take my job very serious.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't do this if I didn't take it serious. I wouldn't be here if I didn't want to be here.
Right.
I would be doing something else.
Yeah.
I'm not doing the job to those people's satisfaction because I'm not giving them the answers they want. I'm not giving the wrong answer. I'm just not giving them the answer that they want.
Right.
And that is normal.
Yeah.
That is normal. It's
right.
Government. You cannot please everybody. And typically, like anywhere else, the loud naysayers and haters, they're louder than your silent majority, who is your supportive people who just sit back and say, life is good, things are working, I'm happy. So there's not, they don't go out and give those accolades because they don't feel that they need to. While the negative Nellies, even though there's only a few of them over here, they're chirping, and you know, so it's just the perception of it.
Yeah.
I understand that there are people that don't like the way that I do things. That's okay. It really is. But I am human. I have a open door policy. I can't tell you how many times I've said, come in and have a conversation. But I mean, I'll be honest with you, in the first month that I was here, one of those naysayers, I asked to come into a meeting with me and and said to me, to my face, I'm not going to work with you. I don't like you. And that is where it stemmed from.
Right.
You don't know me.
Yeah.
You
exactly.
haven't seen me
so
perform yet. Yes. And so it was just, you know, a few naysayers have gotten their cronies, you know, kind of gathered up and are talking smack or whatever you want to say it. But I work hard for the city. I do. And my staff works hard for the city. We care.
Yeah.
And I think that the manager reports and the busyness of the commission and the busyness of the planning commission and the busyness of the CED board and the creation of the 300 Broadway, and as that moves in that direction, proves we're working. I could come into work every day and sit and watch videos of seminars and how to manage a city and not do anything. And if that would make people happier because I'm not out creating controversy because I'm not doing anything to be controversial about, that's not who I am.
Right.
I'm a mover, I'm a shaker. I'm a let's make the city a good place. That's what you're paying me to do here. You're not paying me to sit here and watch a video.
Right.
But again, I don't make the final decisions on so many of these things. I'm often the scapegoat, the person that they point their finger at for doing wrong and taking the city down a bad path. But there's a 7-person board that votes. That's who makes the ultimate decision. I provide the information.
Yeah. And you know, you talk about the board voting. This is why it is so necessary to have, you know, people that understand the workings of a city, people that do get involved. And I can tell you, every single commissioner moving up and down, you know, our current city commission, who, you know, they live here, they have businesses here, we have such a good variety of commissioners. You know, we're intelligent people, you know, we all have our like pet projects that we work on. You know, we have a really good flavor, you know. But what scares me is that, you know, I'm so worried that I don't even know how else to say it. We're gonna turn that commission around, and it's gonna end up being a negative commission, where every single thing that we try to accomplish as a city is going to be questioned, tabled, delayed, and I'm telling you, we look like laughingstocks in Marine City because of some of the things that are happening at our city commission meetings. It's ridiculous. Sad. It is ridiculous, and it's very sad. You know, and we need to stop saying no, you know, to good things. You know, if something comes down the pipeline, you know, half the time, you know, when we talk before the meetings and stuff like that, I mean, if something is on the agenda, I'm like, what is that all about? Right. You know, but that's so very rare. Yeah. You know, it's usually some really, really good things. I've been doing some research, and I just want people to know this, that, you know, we have like a certain group, certain family that is always saying no to things, and one of them, unfortunately, is Commissioner Hendricks. And you know, I have a list, and I worked on this list. This is my 5-year list since I've been involved in the city, and I was shocked when I got this and formulated it. All of the things, and I just want to remind people, you know, this is just a reminder. We have to move forward. We cannot be a negative board. So I'm going to say my list. Voted against a letter of understanding between Marine City Police Officers Association for a canine officer. She was against the beach playground equipment. Voted against the purchasing of necessary DPW and police equipment including a backhoe, a pickup truck, and a police vehicle. Voted against a grant writer for the city. She was against the location of the Great Lakes Titanic Memorial in Nautical Park, against the ice skating rink at Nautical Park. Voted against the ordinance regarding parking restrictions for recreational equipment. Against the electronic sign at the library, even though the cost was covered through a generous donation through a memorial contribution given to the library. Voted against outdoor cafes. Voted against the location of the kayak launch, which was a project funded primarily with grant money. Voted against watering the flowers for the garden club. Voted against pay raises for long-term dedicated employees. She was against the Riverbank Open Air Theater during COVID. Voted against moving forward with the Marina Acquisition Project, and that was the city submitting a trust fund grant. Voted against the Bell River property acquisition. Voted against accepting the DNR grant awards for $270,000. Voted against the location of the municipal park lot. Voted against the nomination of volunteer applicants to the Dangerous Building Board of Appeals and Planning Commission at a time when so few residents actually volunteer to sit on a board. Voted against the brownfield for 402 South Water Street, which is the GEC building. Voted against upholding the Planning Commission recommendation to require the demolition of a dangerous building. Voted against to-go cups in downtown parks. Voted against the sale of 303 South Water. Voted against the renewal of the city's insurance policy. Refused to sign the commission-approved Code of Conduct and Code of Ethics policy. Voted against the Community Economic Development Board golf sponsorship request to support the Marine City Chamber of Commerce. She was against the development of the workshop to discuss the proposal of 300 Broadway. Voted against the city utilizing more than one engineering service for competitive pricing and time efficiency. Voted against allowing the Community Economic Development Board to spend their own fundraising money. Voted against the Business Regulation and Business License Ordinance first draft. Voted against the Blight Prevention Ordinance. Made inaccurate statements at the last meeting about safe rides to school or the safe routes to school, which we already talked about. Voted against the city applying for a Michigan transportation grant for grant funding to connect the Bridge to Bay Trail gaps identified in Marine City. 5 years. It's a lot. And I really, truly hesitated to even read this because it's not like me I don't want to be negative. But this has got to stop. This has to stop. So what I'm asking you, the public too, is, we have a very important election coming up. Please be very careful how you vote. We've got newspaper articles and interviews and all kinds of stuff. Actions speak louder than words. I've said it before. We can't have candidates that say, I want to do this and I'm going to do that, or the people need to be heard. We do listen. We listen. We are out there. We are always available. Yeah. Anything else?
To piggyback off that, you have a staff who is willing and able and works hard to satisfy the progress that the commission wants to see. We have people who care, and they are working hard for the city. And I think that I don't want to see them discouraged. I don't want to see all of that positivity and that, we've lit a fire in a couple of the employees to be more proactive in some of the things that they do, and they're thriving at it. Mm-hmm. I hate to see that light dwindle because there's discouraged staff because we don't have a commission that's supportive of the efforts that we're doing on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
That doesn't create a good working environment. It doesn't create a working environment that provides the best it can for the city. Mm-hmm. So I agree. Please vote. Please pay attention to who you're voting for. You're in a good place right now. Mm-hmm. And we don't want to slip backwards into a place where, like I mentioned, we come to work and we watch videos on how to do something, right, because there is nothing to do.
Yeah. For once, let's really try to vote for the best candidate instead of just for a name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's too important.
Yeah.
Maybe
we've come so far.
We've come so far, and
yeah.
I feel like there's some people that just don't understand it, or I don't know, and they're being led like lemmings off a cliff, and we have to get it back. So, you know, there's a couple, I have the sample ballot right here. One is state and one is local. And it's completely very easy, very clear. And we passed out like a lot of absentee ballots.
Yes.
Like 800.
Yeah.
You know. So I was just kind of curious. So I asked our clerk, Shannon, I said, if somebody turned in an absentee ballot, and let's say they go, you know what, I voted like a week or two ago. Well, now that I've seen the interviews and, you know, maybe I'm going to change my mind, or maybe I made a mistake on this proposal or something. Can you get it back? I was curious because this is my ballot. I vote absentee, you know, and you can.
You absolutely can.
You can. You can come back and you can redo your vote.
The clerk will spoil your ballot, officially ruin it so it cannot be counted in a proper format in front of you. And then you will be reissued a new ballot that you either can take home and do absentee, or you can come back and vote on the day of the election if you've changed your mind.
Yeah.
But yes, you can do that.
Yeah, I didn't know that you could, you know, and it's called spoiling your ballot, you know. Shannon goes so far as to have you, you know, she wants you to sign a form. You know, just so it's up. And of course you have to show proper identification, you know, to make sure you are who you are. You know, we're not like fake book.
No.
You know, we don't.
We know who you are.
Yeah, but we need to know who you are, you know. All right, well, anything else? We covered a lot.
Yes,
we
and
did. We
you know
covered
what?
a lot.
Thank you for being an amazing mayor and taking a chance on me a little over a year ago. And it's been an honor to work with you. And I will miss having you as the mayor, but I'm glad you're still staying involved in the city.
I'm staying involved.
The city
in the
needs
city.
you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, well, this was the Mayor Minute. My name is Cheryl Vercammen, and I'm currently the mayor of Marine City, but not much longer. And thank you for joining us.